Hi, I'm Michelle Chalfant, psychotherapist, holistic life coach, and human just like you, learning to navigate life's challenges. With over 25 years experience, I teach people how to get healthy using the adult chair model. The adult chair model is where simple psychology meets grounded spirituality, and it teaches us how to become healthy adults. From anxiety and depression to codependency and relationship issues, you can use the adult chair for just about anything. Each week, I share practical tips, tools, and advice from myself and a wide range of experts on how to get unstuck, how to live authentically, and how to truly love yourself, all while sitting in your adult chair. Welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. I am Michelle Chalfant. Happy to be with you today on the second week of August. This is our last week that we run our summer series. These were some of your favorite episodes. And today we have on the show Dr. Joan Rosenberg. We're talking all about emotional mastery. This also was one of my favorites. So this is it for our summer series. Next week, we have a whole brand new show for you with Dr. Stan Tatkin. We're talking relationships, so you don't want to miss that one either. But for today, we've got a phenomenal show for you, one that I could listen to many, many, many times. You know, I love talking about emotions, and Dr. Joan Rosenberg brings us so many phenomenal tools and ideas on how to become an emotional master. So without further ado, here we go with Dr. Joan Rosenberg. Let me tell you what a podcast I had today with Dr. Joan Rosenberg. It was unbelievable. We talked all about emotions, how to feel emotions, the power of emotions, and she has some new things for us. Yeah, I have to say, she is a researcher and man, she knows her stuff about emotions. And I had a lot of validation about what we're doing right here in the adult chair. And also learned a few new things. In fact, this never happens because I'm a talker. And I have to say, I absolutely, probably, I don't even remember how many times, was speechless a few times during the show, which that's hard for me to be speechless. And I was speechless because of what she shared. Oh my gosh, so good. I wanted to drop my mic if I could have, but it would have been really loud and probably hurt your ears. I wouldn't have done that. But a few times it said, oh my gosh, it even brought me to tears. So wait to hear. That's toward middle to end, but wow. What we talked about when it came to compliments, mind-blowing stuff. But in addition to that, we talked all about what we do with difficult emotions, right? And how confidence plays into that. She actually has a formula for this, which was brilliant. And she talks about the 8 feeling or emotional states and why she explained why she talks about those and not the other ones. Also, we addressed why people believe that if you feel an emotion, you're going to get stuck in it for weeks and months or maybe even years, and the fear that's around that. We also stepped over into fear and anxiety, of course, and she has something that she talks about when it comes to grief. You're not going to want to miss this, as well as the imposter syndrome. Let me just tell you, we covered so much in this hour. And it is, she is a wealth of information. And what we spoke about are so many different ideas that you will be able to apply today. So I know that you're going to love this show. I cannot wait to hear what you think about it. And as always, I appreciate you all sharing the show because we want to get these messages out to the whole world to help the whole world heal. Absolutely. That is our mission over here. So let me tell you a little bit more about Dr. Joan Rosenberg. She is a psychologist, a best-selling author, corporate wellness consultant, and media expert who is known globally as an acclaimed speaker and trainer on communication, confidence, resilience, authenticity, and grief. As a 3-time TEDx speaker and member of the Association of Transformational Leaders, she's been recognized for her innovative emotional mastery and confidence building approach, and for her thought leadership and global influence in personal development. Dr. Rosenberg has served as a mental health and media consultant for documentaries, print, radio, television, and digital outlets. She is a professor of psychology at Pepperdine University. Here we go with probably, honestly, I have to say, I have a lot of favorite shows. This is one of my favorites. You're going to love this show. Here we go with Dr. Joan Rosenberg. So welcome to the Adult Chair podcast, Dr. Joan Rosenberg.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, as I was just sharing with you, it's such an honor to have you on. You're someone that I've actually followed for many, many years, as I am someone that is passionate about not only feeling my own emotions, but also with clients and with all of the people that I work with in the membership and in my certification program. We need to learn as humans how to feel our emotions, and we're not good at it. So
I would agree with you.
yeah, so it's like so thrilling to have you on the show. I would love to start out with, I love to hear a little bit about your story and how did you get here? How did you become passionate about your work and what you're doing today?
Well, it goes back to my childhood.
Doesn't everything?
Yes, but at least I'm willing to kind of put it out there.
Yeah.
I started out as a shy, introverted, probably exquisitely sensitive young kid, and also had the experience of feeling like I didn't fit in, didn't belong, and getting bullied and all those kinds of things doesn't make for a great combination. And I would consistently look over at my peers and see them kind of laughing together and the sense of belonging, and they'd go out and pursue things. And so the first thing I was left with is it's like I wanted what they had, or what I perceived that they had, and for me that was confidence. And so I was left with a first question, if you will, at childhood, and that is, how does somebody develop confidence? And because it wasn't happening through osmosis, I couldn't stand by them and get it. I really had to figure that out. And as I got into my professional life as a psychologist, what happened then was noticing how much people's difficulty with handling unpleasant feelings result. I mean, it was right in front of me. And as much as our thinking can turn things upside down, I found that difficulty handling feelings made things even worse. And so the second question was for me to kind of pursue was, what made it so difficult for people to handle unpleasant feelings? And as time went on, and I'm talking about time over decades, what I realized is that the answer to the second question about unpleasant feelings is actually the foundational answer to the question about confidence. So for me, the ability or the capacity to handle unpleasant feelings really is the foundation of confidence.
So how do you define confidence?
I think of confidence as the deep sense. So I've kind of recast it differently from others. It's the deep sense that you can handle the emotional outcome. So those are the feelings of whatever you face or whatever you pursue.
I'm letting that sit. Okay, that's powerful. And I'm thinking about your backstory, the childhood story. I would think so many of us, here's a question. I have three questions. I'm like, wait, which one do I want to ask you?
I'll follow you. Go ahead. I'm a trained listener. I'll follow.
Okay, good. Here we go. First of all, I want to comment on your backstory, which is I too was very, very shy. Didn't speak until, to hardly anybody except my parents. So I was like 6, and then even then I was terrified to go to school. But you take that extreme, but even the kids that look like they're in the in group or the confident kids, I would think so many kids struggle with that feeling of belonging. I mean, that's like when that ego develops as we're going through life. We're all feeling like, I want to belong in that group. And then even I remember being in that popular group, I still didn't feel like I belonged. Like it's this sense of like, oh, it still doesn't feel right. Would you say that most people go through that? Like that's just growing up?
Yes, I would say that now, but as a child not talking about those kinds of things and not knowing how to talk about those things, and not feeling like I belonged to any group. So it
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
then it was, yes, I definitely think that most of us have these questions about, do I really belong, or where do I belong?
Okay, so question two then. Do you think that that plays into or has a big part of us starting to discount or numb out our emotions?
No,
Okay.
I don't necessarily think those two are combined. Because a child could come home and say, I have a hard time fitting in.
Yeah.
And a parent could be very responsive to that, and say, well,
Ah,
let's figure that out.
yeah.
So no, I don't think the two necessarily go together.
Mhm.
I think that it's, we don't necessarily think to start to talk about, not two things. One, we're not necessarily, someone in our life is not necessarily facilitating that with us.
Mhm.
And the second is, we don't necessarily think to bring it up. And
Yes. Yeah.
because there's it's like, again, I would have to stop and think about why that is, but or what might contribute to that. But we hold back, and we don't think about asking those kinds of questions or saying those kinds of things. And as a result, we then go around feeling the pain, but not having any place to take it.
Yeah, when I think about how many parents, especially at least when I was growing up, I mean, I felt very loved in my home. However, I don't know that anyone ever sat down with me and said, well, let's talk about that experience you had today. Or, you don't feel, I remember this one kid did bully me on the bus too. He put clarinet grease in my hair. I still can see it. I was like 10 years old walking off the bus, and he took his clarinet grease and smeared it in my hair. And I was like, ugh. And I remember going home, and, parents, they didn't know what to say, but yet I'm having all these emotions. And I think
Right.
most parents don't know what to do with these emotions. At least, again, maybe it's changed in this day and age. I don't know. Maybe you can
Mhm.
enlighten us on that. But it's like, have a cookie, or, oh, that kid's a jerk, or, there's judgment, or let me numb that out. So we learn because, as babies, we have emotions, right? So
Right.
what happens along the way? Is it the parents not validating, or what happens to us that we learn not to feel and express our emotions?
Well, I think we're socialized. In many cases, we're socialized not to, and in other cases, parents are not psychologically enough aware and empathic enough to actually be responsive in those ways. I think it's getting better. I think that certainly there's more literature, there's more knowledge out there, there's more people engaged in bringing practices into schools. Again, when there's opportunities. Uh,
Right.
and then the schools are not in a survival based situation, then the schools that obviously have ample resources are tending to put those kinds of that kind of education into schools at a younger age. So the kids are getting more empathy training. They're getting the culture itself. They're trying to work to change the culture of the school. So there's a lot of things that are different now. And certainly, as at least in the United States, generally speaking, despite everything that's happening, we're a more psychologically aware nation,
Yes,
if you
true,
will.
true.
And so there's more things that are out in the just in the broad knowledge base, if you will.
Yeah.
So people pursuing their own growth and et cetera. So I think we're leaning in the right direction, but it needs to be formalized in a particular way. And the truth is that parents have to do their own work. And if they,
Amen. Amen. Yes, we can't
okay,
help our yeah, we can't help our kids if we have all this wounding, or we're projecting, or we're triggered by what's going on with our kids. Yes. And my next question was like, okay, what would you say to if there are parents listening and they're
yes,
thinking, oh God, I want to be able to make sure that I am helping my children feel their emotions.
right.
I know what I'd say. I'd like to know what you would say to that
Uh,
though. Yeah.
I would say something similar. I would say, or I'm guessing I would say something similar to you. But parents have to do their own work.
Yeah.
And
And they
and
got to learn how to feel their own emotions. I mean,
yes, but and yes, they do. So and we're socialized to um, the other direction of it is we're also socialized. How much in the media it's like go shop, go eat, go watch sex, go watch porn,
yeah.
go have sex, go watch porn. The list, go use this drug or that. I mean, how much is that in our culture as distractions. So we're socialized to disconnect and distract.
It's so true. You know, I met a new person in my neighborhood. It was months ago, actually. And I walk every day. So I'd seen her when I was walking. I was like, oh, she's so sweet. And we sit and chit chat. And then one day I was walking and she said to me, hey, how's your day? I go, oh my gosh, I've had the longest day. I just, whatever I said to her, I'd been writing all day and 4 podcasts and, writing this online class and all this stuff. I'm just really, I've had a long day. I'm worn out. And she said, this is our typical, I mean, so many people say this to me, you need to come over and have a bottle of wine with me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, isn't that the tip? That's such a typical, oh, well, it sounds like you need a drink. It sounds like you need a bottle. And I said to her, oh, thanks so much. I said, I really don't drink anymore. I said, once in a blue moon, I might have half a glass of wine, but I really just don't drink. And I realized she stopped talking to me.
Oh,
I think
no.
she was so uncomfortable. And I don't judge her. She's a sweetheart, actually. But that was it. Like, and she didn't stop talking to me out of meanness or anything, but that was it. Like there was never an invitation again. And this has been, gosh, almost a year now. And I thought, isn't that, and it was like for me, it's like a study in psychology. I'm like, fascinating. So if I'm not going to be able to drink with you, and instead I would just love to talk about my day, it was just, that was it with the relationship. So yeah, we're in a society of numbing out. It's like, I'd rather just have you sit and listen to me so I can share, but we don't know how to do that all that well.
Correct. Yeah. But
Because there's no confidence, as you say, in that, right? So talk about, you believe that handling difficult feelings is the foundation of feeling confident, and use a formula to help people to achieve that. What is that formula?
The formula is a colleague of mine called it the Rosenberg reset. So I stayed with it, and it landed well. So the reset is essentially 1 choice, 8 feelings, 90 seconds. Easy to remember. 1 choice, 8 feelings, 90 seconds. And the 1 choice is choosing into awareness as opposed to what we were just talking about, and instead of avoidance.
Yeah.
So what's it going to look like? It's going to look like you're making an attempt to be as aware of and in touch with as much of your moment to moment experience as possible.
Got it.
So as opposed to sex, porn, food, shopping, the list goes on.
Alcohol, drugs,
and I think in the 90 seconds book that I wrote, I think I list out 35 different ways we can distract.
Oh, wow.
And that also includes things like anxiety, harsh self-criticism, and having feelings about having feelings.
Wow.
That I'm angry, that I'm sad, right?
Yeah.
So the distractions are fairly nuanced.
Yeah.
So, but we don't want the avoidance. We want the awareness. So the 1 choice is choosing into awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And then in my work over the years, what I found is, again, there were a certain number of feelings that people struggled with consistently. So I list 8 feelings or feeling states, and they're sadness, shame, helplessness, anger, vulnerability, embarrassment, disappointment, and frustration. So the question I usually get is, well, guilt's not there, loneliness isn't there. I mean, there's all anxiety's not there, fear's not. It's like, what's the deal? And the reason I chose these 8 is because they're the most common, spontaneous, everyday reactions to things not turning out the way that we want or that we believe that they need to occur. So it's the everydayness of the feelings. And I have different points of view on some of the other things I mentioned. So like, I don't think of guilt as a feeling, for instance. So there's lots of it's those 8. So that's the 1 choice. It's the 8 feelings. And then the 90 seconds is really the lean in method, if you will, to being able to handle the unpleasant feelings. And as much as the ability to lean in is important, I will come back and tell you that it's the 8 feelings is where the magic is. So as much as the method is important, the 8 feelings are even more important. So, and because they have a play in how how we deal with other, or have the sense that we have other life problems, like difficulty
Mm.
speaking up or anxiety or other things, but we may get into that yet today.
So yeah. So tell me when you say, and I love that I was sharing with you prior to the show, like I have preached this in the adult chair, 90 seconds, feel that emotion for 90 seconds. But you're saying more important than that are the 8 feelings. So what
Yeah,
do you mean
but
by
let me,
that? Do
let
you
me,
mean like sitting in the feelings? Talk about that.
no, no, I don't, no, my thing is not for people to like be in quicksand with it. I have no interest in that. It's the notion that you move through them. So let me walk through. There's like a few different steps to the 90-second piece. And there's a kind of an awareness that if you really capture the awareness, I think it'll make it that much easier for you to listen, to lean into the feelings.
Mhm.
So I didn't make up the 90 seconds. We talked about Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor. It's not my concept, but for me, it actually helped kind of create the method in terms of bringing everything together. And so what's the thing that we ought to know? One is that we're one interconnected whole. So what does that mean? It means that the brain is always feeding information to the body, and the body is always feeding information to the brain. So we're not this separate head and body thing, right? Or you can think of us as a body mind or mind body or however you want to do it, but that we're one interconnected whole. The second really important thing to understand is that along with that is that most of us come to know what we're feeling emotionally through bodily sensation. Now, and this is a super important concept. So what does that mean? That means if I am embarrassed, that I would be feeling the heat, if you will, of embarrassment, probably coming up through the upper torso into my neck and face. And you would see the redness or the flush on my face, but I'd be feeling the heat of the bodily sensation. And we have bodily sensations that are associated with most of our other feelings, pleasant and unpleasant.
Mm-hmm.
The third part then is to understand, using Dr. Bolte Taylor's concept, is that when a feeling gets triggered, then there's a rush of biochemicals into the bloodstream that actually activate those bodily sensations.
Mm.
And they flush out of the bloodstream in an upper limit of roughly 90 seconds. So what I like to say here is that, again, and most feelings don't last 90 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
They actually are shorter in length. And so that's the good news. And most people will go, well, I can do 90 seconds. It's like, okay, great. Now you can lean into it. So the idea then is that you want to be able to see yourself or experience yourself as being able to ride one or more, and I'm going to emphasize the more, one or more short-lived bodily sensation waves. And if you can ride these short-lived bodily sensation waves, then you can lean into unpleasant feelings. Now, here's the magic in it, though, Michelle. And that is that what I realized was that it wasn't that we didn't want to feel the whole range of what we felt. It's that we didn't want to feel the bodily sensation that helped us know what we felt.
No way.
So it's so the real kind of twist here is that if you can get that the reason you can't stand feeling something, especially unpleasant feelings, it's because you don't like the bodily sensation associated with that feeling. So if you go, oh, wait a minute, if I can just handle that bodily sensation, I can lean into that feeling, then that's going to make a massive difference in how you handle stuff. So what does it come down to? It comes down to handling short-lived bodily sensation waves.
Wow. I'm thinking that it's more, well, I don't want to feel my shame, or I don't want to feel sadness or whatever. But yeah. Wow.
I don't want to feel the bodily sensation that helps me know that I'm feeling that.
Wow. I have to say, working with so many clients over the years, I would say to them in session, like, okay, or I'd ask them, where do you feel that emotion? I'm feeling,
Right.
My husband made me so, or whomever made me so mad. Okay, where do you feel that in the body? Oh, it's in my stomach. Oh, it really feels horrible. It's horrible. And I say this to people, 100% of the time when I've said to them or asked them, let's stay with that sensation. No, it
Mhm.
feels so bad. What if I throw up? What if I cry? I don't care. Great. You're not going to throw up. I've never had anyone in 30 years throw up in my office. No, let's stay with it.
Right.
100% of the time, that sensation morphs and vanishes if they
Right.
stay with it. 100%.
Absolutely. Right.
100%.
So my bias here as well is that we metabolize feeling
Yep.
by feeling it and by expressing it.
Love that.
So it morphs once you experience it, and it morphs once you express it.
Oh, that's
Just-
awesome. Love that. So when people believe that these feelings will last, again, when people will say to me, I heard this over the years, if I feel that sadness, I will start crying and never stop. And they think the sadness is going to last for, a day, a week, a year, years. Talk about that. Like
Well, again, I'll come back to feelings are short-lived.
yeah,
So they're not going to last. They're transient by nature. Period.
yeah,
End of story.
yeah.
The experience that creates the lingering, I think there's three big contributors to that.
Mhm.
Two that are in the literature, one that is really based on my clinical experience over the years. So
Yeah.
the first is what people call thought suppression. Well, I'm just not going to think that. Yeah, because that really doesn't work. So if I ask you not to think of a zebra that has green and yellow stripes, then you have to think about the thing to try not to think about it. Paradoxical does not work. Sorry.
No, I
Right.
agree.
So thought suppression, the attempt of trying not to think about something will create that. The second is that when you recall an experience or a memory or a given thought, then whatever is associated with that, the experience, the thought, or the memory, so feelings, meaning, so that it includes feelings, is that what ends up happening is that you're going to pull up everything that's associated with that memory or that experience.
Mm.
So feelings come right along. So the more you think about the whatever it is, the more repetition there is to that, the more you keep on bringing the same approximate feeling you had with it. And so it has the quality of lingering. So probably the most common experience is when breakups occur.
Mm.
Right. So think about it. Somebody, well, what's he doing or what's she doing now? But you're looping over and over and over those kinds of
Totally.
things. So now it feels like the feeling's just lasting.
Yeah.
So the second is this notion of the repetition of thought, memory, or experience. And then the third for me is harsh self-criticism.
Mm.
I think when people engage in really harsh self-criticism or negative self-talk, that what it's doing is actually continually bringing up the unpleasant feeling that I believe is underneath that. So I'm not a big fan of harsh self-criticism for so many reasons, but I also see harsh self-criticism as a distraction from unpleasant feeling,
Yep.
and that's all it is,
Yep.
really.
I've
And so that what ends up happening is if you're a person that engages in a lot of harsh self-criticism, then you're going to keep on activating the unpleasant feelings underneath. Then it's going to feel that it all lingers.
Yep.
So those are the three reasons that I think.
love it. Thanks for validating me.
Oh,
You
my
don't
pleasure.
even know what my truth is with this adult chair, but I have to tell you something that I say to people, I've said for years. If you want to stop ruminating, or if you want to stop your ruminating thoughts, you have to feel the emotion that's underneath the rumination.
Right.
What the heck are you not feeling? And the
Right.
other thing I've said is that the reason that an emotion sticks around is because we built a story around it. So drop the story, fall into the emotion, and then move on. Like it's the story. Well, if I'd only done this and maybe this and that, well, it's like, no, you're making the emotion linger. It doesn't have to
Right.
linger if you live in the moment. So thank you.
Of course.
I feel validated right now.
My pleasure. I'm glad I could be here to do this.
So you talk about, how does someone build confidence? How do we do that?
There are several ways. I talk about, I think I initially listed 6 in the book. I'd probably say there are 7, but 5 of the 7 are to me the most important. So the first one, the first 2, I'll put out there as things that I'm not going to dial into. So the first one is just being loved on. We're as that when we were brought into the world, that we just got loved on, right? And so we got cared about and nurtured and praised, and not overly praised, but praised and supported, and all the good things that we want. And when that nurturance is there, we grow into healthier human beings. Now, let's acknowledge that that's not true for a great many of us. And we all have our own difficult life experiences to face. And many people don't grow up with that kind of environment. So the good news is that you can still develop lots of confidence despite the fact that you didn't start out from easy beginnings. So the second one is that you develop an area of expertise, but not an area of expertise that's shared. You just do it for your own delight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, somebody that has all the baseball statistics, right? Or knows everything about weaving, or it doesn't matter what it is, right? It's just that you've developed that, or they're the phenomenal piano player and they just enjoy doing that for themselves, right? And so that there's this area of expertise, but it doesn't get shared in the world. But the next 4 or 5 to me really are the what I would say the foundational pieces. So the first one is to be able to experience and move through unpleasant feelings. So that takes us right back to the 8 feelings. So the first foundational layer is that you have the capacity to experience and move through and ultimately express the 8 unpleasant feelings, or the whole range of what we feel. That's a better way to say it, the whole range of what we feel, pleasant and unpleasant. So that's the first. The second is speaking up. That someone has the experience that they can speak with ease. And that means you can speak where, when, how, with whom, etc., with ease in any given situation. But I would add a caveat here. One, it's discretion. It's done with discretion. And even more importantly, it comes from a positive, kind, and well-intended place. That's the caveat that's wrapped around that. So this does not, if I'm encouraging you to speak your truth, this does not mean you get to be malicious, and it doesn't give you license to go be mean and to tell somebody what you think that they need to hear just because you think that they need to hear it. It doesn't work that way. It has to really come from a heart-filled, kind, and well-intentioned place. So the speaking up is crucial. And frankly, I think of the ability to speak up as the super glue to confidence.
The ability to speak up.
Yeah, with ease is the super glue.
Okay.
I actually believe it changes our molecules.
Really?
Yes, I do. 100%.
So what if I'm afraid to speak up?
That's, difficulty speaking up is not a speaking problem.
Oh, okay.
Difficulty speaking up is a difficulty with unpleasant feeling problem.
Ooh, I like that twist. That was good. That was really good. So if you said the first one was, being loved on, what if we weren't loved on? What if we were loved on a little bit, or we weren't loved on enough? Is that something we can just do for ourselves, as adults?
No, it's the combination of doing what we do for ourselves to heal. Plus it's the combination of being around people that are healthier for you as you age into adult life.
Yeah. And
Or as
that
you age.
is so important. Like, look at who's standing around you. Like, who are you hanging out with? Are they supportive? Are they loving? Are they kind? If not, it might be time to swap some people out of that mix. Or limit your time with certain people, right?
Yeah. Limiting time and swapping they're both options. Yeah.
Talk about fear and anxiety.
Well, there's more. Did you?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
Yes.
okay. All right. So I'll follow your lead on this one. So
yeah.
The other 3 have to do with taking action.
Okay.
So if I take action, then so again, and with speaking and taking action, it's not a situation that you have the confidence and then you speak, nor is it a situation where you have the confidence and then you take action. It's actually through taking action and speaking that you grow confidence. So it works the other direction. So it's a little counterintuitive.
Yeah, it is actually.
And then the last two would be ending harsh self-criticism. And I'm adamant about that.
But, people would say, well, how do I do that? It's automatic.
Right. It's automatic because you've allowed it to be automatic. Automatic is a habit.
Yeah.
So it's not automatic. It just takes practice. And for me, as I said earlier, I really see harsh self-criticism as a distraction from unpleasant feelings. So
Mhm.
the most important thing you can do is to notice your harsh self-criticism and then to ask yourself, what is it that came right before I did this
Mhm.
that was more difficult for me to think about, to feel, to bear, or to know? And if you can do that, and let me give an example, because so people really understand what I mean by distraction. I was doing an interview similar to this, but the interviewer could not hear me. I could hear him. And this went on for a few minutes. So and I'm watching him get frustrated. He's starting to work on the computer and find out what can I fix here. Then I watch him crawling underneath the desk. Right, I'm going to start pulling cords, and you can get the picture with that. And I hear him say, "I'm so embarrassed." And then without missing a beat, out of his mouth came, "I'm so stupid. I'm such an idiot." Now, so for me, harsh self-criticism is a thought hijack of unpleasant feelings. So there's the thought hijack. He was embarrassed, but could he have just stayed with the embarrassment, let it be? Yes. Nope, didn't last that way. It didn't go that way. Instead, it was, "I'm such an idiot. I'm so stupid," right? So there's the thought hijack right there. And that's how quickly it happens for all of us.
Yeah, it's automatic almost, right?
Right. So, but you have to be conscious, you have to catch yourself, and then you have to go, what was the unpleasant feeling that preceded this? You do
And
that.
and then and if I may add to this,
Please.
if I may add to this, and if it slips out of your mouth, then say to yourself, whoops, what did I just say? That's not true. I'm not an idiot. Like almost like taking it back or softening it in some way because I'm thinking about people, including myself, that might say, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Why did I do that? But what I'm really mindful of, and I find that I'm all about awareness as well, but also like living in that moment and living, when we're in the adult chair, we're more conscious, I'm in that present moment awareness state. But if I'm living in the past or the future, I'm not able to do that. I'm not able to have those thoughts that come in and go, whoops, wait a minute. What did I just say to myself? Michelle, come on.
Right.
So people have to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
And when we feel ourselves getting so anxious, when we feel ourselves with the embarrassment or whatever, one of those 8 emotions, that's an indicator to slow down. And I think what happens, that ego kicks in and we start going faster, faster, faster. So then we start, the inner critic comes in, we start judging ourselves, etc. So slow down, get present. And I love that you say it's a habit. I say the same thing. Like it's all is just habits. Like it's habitual thinking. You can change it. We can all change these things. So,
Right.
Okay. Thank
So,
you.
and then the last one is absorbing compliments.
Yes.
we
I
could
wish I
collaborate, I
high five
guess.
you. I just want to high five you. Because yes, and I use the terminology like, can we let that land, please? Because people don't hear them. They're boop, gone. Oh, thanks so much. No. Let it land. Like absorb what that person just said. Why are we so bad at that? We're not good at that.
See, I think we're socialized to not take them in, but I also don't think people talk about them and they don't realize how important they are.
Well, why are they important?
Well, first of all, it's understanding what it is. So I think of a compliment as a reflection of you back to you.
Ooh, can you say that again? Hold on.
Yeah.
Wait, I want to let that land.
Yeah, you got to let it land.
Wait, hold on. Say that again. That's
A
powerful.
compliment is a reflection of you back to you.
Oh, that almost brings me to tears. Like I literally have some tears. That's powerful.
But so
I love that. I just think about how much we discount that. Like, oh, I love your outfit. Oh, I got it at Target. Or oh, this old thing. Or oh, I love that you did that for me. Thank you. And we go, oh, it's no big deal. Like it's like we're swatting it away like a fly almost. Like, ugh. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's so think of it this way. A compliment does not come, actually, it doesn't come out of the thin air. It doesn't come out from a vacuum or out of the blue, right? No such thing. A compliment comes out of an experience with you or of you. So it's like a mirror being held back to you to say, here's how I experience you.
Love this.
Right?
Yeah.
And so if someone doesn't take it in, they're dismissing not only the reality of the other person, they're dismissing their own reality.
Oh my God, this is like, I need the emoji of the mind blow. This is so good.
Thank you.
Love
And
this. Ooh,
and
this is hitting me. This is great.
and what ends up happening then is that, so now you're discounting two people's reality, your own and the other person's.
Mm.
And then you never get the benefit of the compliment. So what ends up happening when you allow yourself to take compliments in is that it updates and up levels your sense of self and self-image. So if you never take compliments in, then you're never allowing yourself to see yourself or experience yourself in a different light.
Oh. Wow.
And so people, and I'm not a big fan of the phrase, nor do I believe in it at all, but people will often use this idea of imposter phenomenon. I'm sorry, imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't buy it for a moment, really. I mean, the only time it's relevant is when someone is starting out in something, but it's also not a syndrome. It's just what they called it, a phenomenon. And so, but part of what contributes to that is the failure to take in compliments. Right? So I'm never allowing myself to update my sense of who I am.
I'm literally speechless right now. That I'm never speechless. I grew up not speaking, and then once I started, I never shut up. So I'm a little bit speechless. This is phenomenal. Like my brain is literally like, I feel like I'm having a rewire happen right now. Like, wow. I've stressed a lot the importance of taking in a compliment, but what you just gave was this whole other reason why.
It's crucial, actually. It's crucial. I think that, and so when I think of developing confidence, for me, that's the compliment piece. No, nobody talks about it, and it really is kind of icing on the cake. And actually, I shouldn't even say that. It's important. It's very, very important.
Well, it's a rewiring. It's like, wait, you just said something about building self-esteem, or did I make that up, or self-worth? It's like, you're building up this
You're
inner
updating your sense of self and self-image.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of people that might have lower self-esteem or lower self-worth, or don't know who they are, or identity issues. When you start taking in those compliments.
Particular light, or you would say importance.
And what?
We lost a little bit of link there.
Yeah, I just lost that.
If you never allow yourself to take them in, then you never have the opportunity to really experience yourself in a much more positive way, and really update a sense of who you are.
Good. Oh, good.
There's another piece that goes to the other is that I think when you do allow them to come in, what you start to realize, Michelle, is that you find out that you are who you either you are becoming, or you are who you most want to be.
Can I drop the mic?
Yes.
This is freaking phenomenal. I love this.
Thank you.
Wow. I can't wait to hear this again. I'm going to go back and listen to this part. I mean, I'm going to listen to the whole thing, but this part, holy moly. I just think about people that feel stuck or lost or don't know who they are. I think about myself. I was codependent for so long, and I know the work that I do with others now is about rebuilding identity. Like, who am I? And this is like such an important part.
Crucial.
Like, important, because we don't see ourselves when we have codependency. I didn't know who that guy was. I could tell you who you were. I didn't know who I was, though.
Right.
And I did so much like self-work on rebuilding of self and identity. And
so shall I add one more piece to this?
I don't know if I can handle it, Joan. I'm not going to
That's
lie.
up to you. I won't deliver it if you don't want.
Go ahead. Thank God I'm sitting down. Go ahead.
Okay. Compliments are timeless.
Mm, wow.
So if you're listening to this, then what you can do is you can actually sit down. My thing is, I would say start with the compliments you've heard in the past month, past day, past week, past month. Just start to kind of, I would say even write them down.
Wow.
Let yourself read them and absorb them.
It,
And the big question I would have you ask yourself is, to notice, we're talking about awareness earlier, to notice what the difference is when you allow yourself to really take them in, as opposed to not.
I literally
And,
have tears in my eyes. Like I'm thinking through this and I'm like, wow, I don't know if I can handle that.
well, it's like, who would you become if you allowed yourself to take them in?
Holy crap. Does everyone have this reaction? Because I'm really like blown away. Like that. Wow, Joan, that's phenomenal. Wow. Okay. Thank you. Good
You're
God, that was
welcome.
just so great. Um, yeah, I think about myself. I think about so many other people that discount. Do most people discount emotion
Yes,
or compliment?
yes, yes.
What is that? We're not worthy. We don't want
No,
to. What
in
is
fact,
that?
in the book, I talk about, I think, I don't remember, 18 to 20, what I call compliment blockers. We're socialized not to do it. Don't get a big head. You can't even walk in the door.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
okay. So okay. Let's talk about that one thing you just said. Because and my parents did not say this, but I can imagine parents or someone saying, you don't want to take that in. You're going to have a big head and then people won't like you. What do
right.
you say to that?
That's easy. For me, because I so strongly believe how important they are. I want people to take them in. Here's uh, Michelle, I'm glad you're sitting down. Um, because somebody that comes across as and is telling you how important they are repeatedly, if I say I'm really good at this,
Mhm.
or I like myself, or whatever, and I tell you once or twice, totally fine.
Yeah.
Well, people hear that in a great way. When somebody has to tell you 17 times how great they are,
Mm,
they're not feeling great.
no.
So what looks like arrogance is insecurity.
Ooh.
What looks like arrogance is just the opposite of that. It doesn't come from a place of feeling whole and feeling good.
Yes, like of authenticity.
Exactly. So, but here's the key to it.
Oh God.
Here's the key to it. People who feel that goodness and really take in the compliments, they don't have to tell you anything about how good they are. They live good.
Ooh.
They just live good, and they live the good.
What is
And
live?
so
What is live good?
their kindness, their warmth, it just oozes out of them. And they don't have to tell you anything about how great they are. You experience what they have to give in the world, and they don't have to say a word about it.
Mm.
So they just live their good.
Joan, I am speechless yet again. I'm trying to absorb all this. I'm like, damn, that's so freaking good. Oh my God. Wow. Yeah, I think about people that have to toot their horn or brag, or, people that are talking all the time about themselves. It's because on the inside, they don't feel, like you
Right.
said, whole or good. Like they're
Right.
actually, oh my God, that was so good. Mm. Woo, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I asked you before about fear and anxiety. Can you,
Right.
yeah, just touch on that?
Yes,
I know we're almost done here, but
that's
I got a
okay.
couple of questions I want to get in.
That's okay. That's fine. Fear to me is danger in the moment right now. And so if you're literally not in danger in the moment right now, I would rather you not use that word.
Ooh, just remove it from the vocabulary.
Just take it out.
Okay.
Right. So
Okay.
for me, I think that the words fear and anxiety are overused and misused.
100% another high five. Yes.
Okay.
Even
So
depression, people go, I'm depressed. I'm like, do you know what that word means?
that
Like,
would take
don't
us down a
yeah,
down a
okay.
whole
Yeah,
new
let's
path,
not.
because that would take us down my path
Yeah.
of
Okay.
what I call soulful depression.
Yeah. Okay.
And which is not to me real depression.
I
It's
might
just,
be inviting you back on, Joan.
I'd be happy to join. So
Okay, but talk about, okay, so I like this.
so
Fear and
fear
anxiety. Okay.
is danger in the moment right now. If you tend to use that word, then and you're not really in danger in the moment right now, stop using the word. So what's the next most logical one to use? Well, the next most logical one to use is anxiety.
Yeah.
And if psychology would define it, they would say it's this diffuse concern or diffuse apprehension over, some kind of negative event is going to occur in the future. It's like, okay, but the truth is if I were to ask, and it fits much better. But if I were to ask 10 people what they meant by anxiety, I would get 8 to 10 different answers. So as a clinician, it's way too vague. It has no meaning. And what I found is that it either is the description of somebody feeling vulnerable, which is one of the 8, or it's not that at all. And it happens to be the use of anxiety just keeps the experience vague within us. And then we don't have to deal with the other 7 feelings. So my experience of anxiety is that it's a cover for the 8 unpleasant feelings.
Oh my God. I'm
So
gonna drop the mic again.
So anybody that uses anxiety around me gets corrected or invited, I guess, to no longer use that. Any clients that I work with over time will understand that I don't really believe in it. And do we have the physiological experience of it? Yes, we do. I'm not going to take any of that away around fear or anxiety. And frankly, if you're in danger, I want you to have fear because that's your fight and flight response.
100%.
So
We need to have fear. It's a good emotion. If I'm
yeah.
walking through the parking lot alone and it's 10 o'clock at night and I'm by myself, I hope I have fear and I'm
Exactly.
cautious and I'm looking around. Okay, Joan,
Yes,
may I share with you my definition of anxiety in the adult chair?
please.
Okay. Anxiety is the physical manifestation of unfelt emotions.
There we go. Awesome.
Yeah, because think about it. Like you said, if you asked 8 people what anxiety is, then you'd have 8 different answers, right? And I found that in my practice over all these years, I'm like, okay, client would come in, I have anxiety, and I'd say to them, how do you know you have anxiety? How do you know? Well, I walk around, I've got rapid heartbeat. Okay, what's going on? And I'm telling you, when I bring the client down into their emotions, guess what happens to the anxiety? Well, guess what? It goes away. Now, it might be temporary because there's a lot of things going on, and then it might come back. But what we had worked on, or what I used to work on with my clients when I had a practice, was let's bring it down. Let's feel those emotions. And guess what? Over time, anxiety started to dissipate and then eventually go away.
Right, exactly. So for me, it's the cover for one or more of the 8 unpleasant feelings.
Yep, 100%.
or here's another one. You might like this one too.
Oh God, here we go.
Be warned. It's the anxiety is unexperienced and unexpressed feeling.
Ooh. Yeah. Yes.
It's both. It's both.
Yes.
Unexperienced
and unexpressed.
and unexpressed.
So do you think there's power in expressing the emotion or just feeling it?
There's even more power in expressing.
Okay. And when you say expressing it, can expression be yes to other, but what about even journaling it and just getting it?
I'm a big fan of journaling or doing those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yes. But I will tell you that there's something that happens that's even more important when something is expressed with another human being who can be responsive.
Love that. Okay. Awesome. Okay. One more question.
Mm-hmm.
So many people struggle with letting go of difficult life experiences, right? And you talk about disguised grief.
Right.
What is disguised grief?
Well, this is a longer answer, but so bring me back. So the so this because to me this is opens up a whole world. Disguised grief is the gap between what we wanted, what we needed, what we felt we deserved, and what we really got.
Oh God, Joan. Damn it, that was so good again. Oh, you're frozen on me.
Get at the next piece.
You just froze. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
That was freaking awesome again. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, but so there's more to it. So disguised grief, you can know disguised grief two major ways. So one is through what I call grief signal words.
Okay.
And the grief signal words are things like bitterness, a longstanding anger, holding grudges, resentment, cynicism, pessimism, sarcasm. So all those different kinds of jealousy, envy, all disguised grief.
What about regret?
Regret's a little different.
Okay.
But so there can be a genuine experience of, but it's still grief.
Yeah, I would think that regret has some sort of link to grief somehow.
It does. Wow. It's still, yeah. So which gets us, so the regret's going to take us to the next spot.
Okay.
And so I think there's 5 different categories that involve disguised grief. And it's grieving over what we got and didn't deserve.
Oh, that's good.
Think the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Chaos, abuse, etc.
Yeah.
It's grieving over what we deserved and didn't get. Think the good stuff, praise, consistent nurturance, all those kinds of things. It's grieving over what never was. Think of the lost opportunities or no opportunities as we grew up, or just so think about the facts and circumstances of your early life. It's grieving over what is not now. So think about the facts and circumstances of your life as it is, and things that aren't turning out the way you exactly want. And then grieving over what may never be.
Wow, that's good. So what do we do if we're sitting here going, that's me, I have 3 of those? Just feel? Are you encouraging us?
Well, there's, for me, there's a couple different things here. There's a whole process and I'm mindful of our time, but there's a whole process that I would take somebody through. So two things. One, it's outlined in my 90 Seconds to a Life You Love book. Okay. The second is that there's a TED Talk. My second TED Talk was it's called Grief: The Pathway to Forgiveness, and this is really it kind of outlines the approach. Perfect. So there's a couple places for people to get access to it. I'm so sorry. The second, but there's that. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit confused here. There is a way to make your way through the grief, and just really to make it as simple as I can is what you want to be able to understand the impact and meaning that life experiences had on you across time, when they happened, as you aged, and now. And so you want to have an understanding, be able to develop an understanding of that, and that will then allow you to move through those experiences and to free up that grief. And
you talk about this in greater detail in that TED Talk, correct?
Absolutely.
And we'll link that in the show notes and in your book, right. Of course. And in the book.
Chapter 8 is chapter 8 in the book.
Chapter 8. Okay, awesome. We're gonna put that in the show notes for sure. Joan.
Yes.
Honestly, this was phenomenal. Thank you so much. How would people find you?
drjoanrosenberg.com or Dr. Joan Rosenberg on all sorts of social media. That's usually the handle. So it might be, but on Twitter, Instagram, etc. So and my website, drjoanrosenberg.com. Feel free to reach out. Yeah.
We'll put that all in the show notes for sure.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for this enlightening conversation and for blowing my mind so early in the morning. I appreciate that.
Of course. As I said earlier,
validating me, and I needed that. So to hear you say, Yes, I like that. I was like, woo, Joan Rosenberg likes it. Thank you.
Oh, please, come on.
I'm letting that land. I'm letting
Okay, good.
that's a sort of a compliment. So I'm letting it land. So
Absolutely,
thank you.
absolutely. We're a simpatico.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
but that's also from getting in there and doing the work.
Yeah,
Those lessons are not easily learned. They take time.
I agree. Thank you.
So honoring you and that wisdom as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what did you think? I want to hear. Let me know on social media, or you can always head on over to any place that you're listening to this and leave a review, a 5-star review. I would so appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. But I hope you guys enjoyed the show as much as I did. As you could tell from the end, I was speechless so many times. I just adored the show, and she was just incredible to speak with. So thank you all for listening. I appreciate you so much. Everything that you needed to learn or gain, or anything you wanted to write down from the show, I promise you will be in the show notes. So if you're driving, do not write anything down. I've got you covered. It'll all be in the show notes. Don't worry about it. All right, you guys, have the most beautiful week, and I will see you seated right here next week in the adult chair.